another glorious week of entertainment discussion. Thank you for joining me, the first of 3 live streams this week. And of course, as always, I kick off the beginning of every week with gifting some memberships. Here we go. All right. 5 memberships gifted. Here they come, baby. Whoa. All right. Ta-da! So, thank you, everybody. Yes, I'm wearing a new lipstick. I was at a Sephora. I'll tell you the story of the lipstick. I haven't been able to treat you to new glasses just yet, but here's some lipstick. Oh, thank you, Gareth. That's so generous of you. But I was at a Sephora, and I had seen this cool lipstick that, and I had bought it off of the, you know how you see a picture of the model wearing the makeup, and you go, what lipstick is that? And it did not look anything like, I bought it without trying it on, and I bought actually 2 that I've put together. Thank you, Not Modern Art. I'll show you them in a minute. And I tried them on, I was actually in New Jersey. This was about a month ago, and I tried them on in the car, and I was like, oh, this is a lot more than I bargained for. You know, I usually don't wear a dark lip. But I was like, you know, and some friends of mine were like, oh, that looks really nice. So I was like, I'll try it. So I appreciate the positive feedback. Maybe I'll try a little more stuff with makeup. You know, I don't usually experiment with my look, but maybe I will. Hey, Danny. Hi, Trisha. Back in the day, I used to actually have an extensive wig collection when I did comedy. That was always really fun to do. That was fun to play with. Thank you, Trisha. Hey, Jonah Jameson. So if you're interested in getting this for yourself, the lipstick is from Elia, which is where I buy most of my cosmetics now because, and this isn't even a sponsorship. This is just me trying to share fun stuff with you. So I buy almost all my makeup from them because it doesn't have any chemicals in it. And this color is Piazza. Doesn't look like a Piazza at all to me, but that's fine. And then, Lloyd, I have some Nicki Minaj lipstick left, but I'm trying not to wear stuff that has chemicals in it. I've tried to go with more cleaner makeup, and so that's one of the reasons I haven't been wearing it as much. Come on, bangs. Play it, participate. All right. And then on top of it, because this is very matte. So on top of it, I have this by Mario. Ooh, new brand. This probably has chemicals in it because it makes your lips like plump a little. I was like, I feel like my lips are on fire when I first tried it on, but I've gotten used to it. And this version is Strawberry Glow. So that's what I'm wearing. I feel like one of those ads, you know, where you're like, well, how many different products do you have frickin' layered over that to get that look? I have 2. These are the 2 that create this look. So if you're interested in it, and I just bought them, so any Sephora that you're near should have them. Okay, all right, thank you so much. And yeah, it's not an advertisement. It's just me sharing my experiences. Okay, all right, that's right, Garnet Fire. I'm the Avon lady today. It's not a sponsorship, Mexican Nacho. I'm just telling you what's up. All right, so. So I've gifted the memberships. What else is going on? Well, before we get to the 3 stories, I just want to let you know, if you didn't see my the notice that went up on the community page on this channel, BTT Inside Access for members at that level is tomorrow, the last day of the month. I just made it at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's when we're going to do, you know, the private Q&A. So if you're a member at that level or you'd like to upgrade or join, you'll be able to join in. And that will also stay up. You guys, that was not a, you know, I know it's cute that you are making a joke, but there's no discount. I don't want anyone to go to Sephora and feel like, I mean, I just was telling you what was going on. So I know you're trying to be cute and funny, but it's a little annoying. All right, so 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. The BTT Inside Access. And then also on Sunday, because they're not sending the episode out in advance, we're going to do a House of the Dragon watch-along. So I think that'll be really fun. We can watch the season finale together like we did last year. And that will be on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the episode starts. I shall watch it on my phone or iPad because I can't stream and watch at the same time. Oh, thank you, Billy. Thank you for gifting those memberships. So, but we're gonna have a really good time. Mika, my Batman Cape Crusader review will go up this evening. Actually, I was in the middle of editing it right as I went live. I've already filmed it. It'll go up today, and then I'm gonna do a fun. I'm Brat, Julia. That means so much. I feel the love. So anyway, and also I have like a little spoiler fun video that I'm gonna do for Batman Cape Crusader that'll go up on Thursday when the show drops. They're dropping all 10 episodes at once, so I want that to be ready for you. All right, now that we've gone over all those things, let's do the 3 stories of the day. Hold on. Oh man, the sun is intense. Let me turn up my main light here a little bit. Okay, story number 1. Where'd it go? Boop. Hey, Steve. Welcome back. All right, so I promise, Andrew, to be very nice to Robert Downey Jr. I don't want to say anything. I think this is a very bad idea. I hope that it turns out great. Thank you, Jack. But I'm nervous about it, but I think this salary thing is a crazy story. I'm sure that Marvel is not thrilled that Variety got this information and plastered it all over the internets, and I think it's going to create a serious problem for the rest of the movie. We're going to talk about it with the rest, in more detail, but I will say up front that there's, I think, an issue with not only does it show, because remember, they weren't willing to pay these kinds of salaries for Fantastic Four, which is why it ended up being so difficult to cast. I'm sure Emma Stone is like, what the hell, man? They wouldn't pay her anything like this. And then also, what about if you were another cast member? I think Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Hemsworth, very important to the story, and I think they're going to be like, where's my money? Thank you. I mean, I think it's going to be really difficult to get a good, I think that these kinds of salaries are so insane. All right, so let's start from the beginning, okay? All right, so the good news is, hold on, I had to upload tons of photos and pictures, which I was a little late. All right, so here we go. Deadpool and Wolverine already today is crossing $500 million worldwide. Not even in a week. Like, this is day 4 or 5, and they're at $500 million worldwide. So I wonder what Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are getting paid, by the way. You don't know. Because they kept it to themselves like you're supposed to. So, so I'm sure they have intense back-end participation. I am really a fan of back-end participation. Put your money where your mouth is, and then I think people in the industry and fans feel like you've really earned your money. Robert Downey Jr. earned his initial Marvel run very much so. Harrison Ford has made tons of money off of, well, I think the last one not so much, but Crystal Skull, because it did do pretty well. So I am very much a fan of back-end deals. I'm not to say you shouldn't get paid a significant amount of money up front, but I feel this is too much money up front. I think that it shows like kind of some desperation on the part of Marvel. Like they're like, this has to work. And I think it creates bad will amongst not only from the fans, some fans, because this is just really too much money to pay somebody for something, especially, I'd be like, if I were Kevin Feige, I'd be like, don't I get a sympathizer or gray man discount considering you guys have delivered some real crap? And they're like, no, you don't. And I also think I think it would create tension on set, to be honest with you. If I had to walk by Robert Downey Jr.'s trailer encampment, I'd be pretty ticked off. All right, especially because I feel, we're going to go over the amounts in a moment, but particularly because I feel other people are bringing real value to this. This isn't just the Robert Downey Jr. and Russo brothers show, but now it kind of seems like it is. Like Deadpool and Wolverine was definitely the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman show, and it was fabulous. But I do not believe that it's more than 160 million little hot Cheetos for both of them, but it's for 2 movies. All right, so let's talk about it. I'll explain. Danny, did I explain what back end is? Okay, so let's go over the details. All right, and I'll explain all that. So I got my little arrow. We'll talk about the Russo brothers first. All right, so Variety revealed that the Russo brothers will not only be directing, but they'll also be producing these two films. Kevin Feige is usually the only producer. He's brought on a few co-producers in the last couple of projects, but the Russo brothers have never produced any Marvel movies. I'm nervous about that because most of the movies they've produced outside of Extraction 1 and 2 are not good. So I really wouldn't want Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars to be produced by the guys who brought you The Gray Man. You'd be like, oh my God, why? All right, and then they're getting paid for it. So they're getting $80 million for both films up front. That money is guaranteed. It is not contingent on anything. I think that's too much. I would have paid them $20 million a film. I'm not saying they shouldn't get paid, but I would have paid them $20 million a film. I would have paid them half that. I'm not paying them $40 million for both movies. I just feel the other movies they've done are too bad. I mean, I've seen some people say that Marvel needs these guys more than they need them. I don't think that's true at all. I think that Marvel is rescuing the Russo brothers' career. The Gray Man, Kareem, was that movie with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling that was on Netflix. Remember, it was supposed to start a whole Gray Man universe, and everybody was like, this is garbage, and it didn't. Cosmic says 20 is a little low. Cosmics, what are you, their agent? All right, maybe it is. I lowballed you at 20. The highest I'm willing to go is 25, maybe 30. There's no way in hell I'm giving you $40 million each. Maybe they asked for 50, and this was the lower number. Maybe they negotiated down, but I'm not. I can't write an $80 million check for these guys considering the crap movies that they've delivered. I just can't do it. I mean, we're going to go over their recent movies in a moment, but I'd be like, I just don't feel it's a guarantee that they're going to deliver. If we were coming off of just Endgame and Infinity War, then I'd be like, take all the money I have. But I'd be like, I'm scared because the other movies were so bad. So, Shahar, it is $20 million each, but they're a combo deal. They're the Russo brothers. They work together. They work together. They build together. They can get paid together. All right. Then they don't have any back end, to be fair. There's no back end, but they do have built-in performance bonuses. What's the difference? Well, back end, and by the way, if you ever have the opportunity to negotiate for back end, you want it off of the gross, not the profit, because there's never any profit in Hollywood. They have very creative accountants, and no movies ever make any money. So you always want a percentage of the gross. So they're not getting that, okay? And that kicks in immediately. But they do have performance bonuses built into their contract. Now, the difference is that they'll only get a bonus if the movie reaches $750 million, as you can see. And then if it gets all the way to $1 billion, then they'll get an additional bonus as well. But I mean, these salaries are so high, I'm like, what money is going to be left? I mean, like, the budget is going to be insane. The advertising, the VFX, the production costs. Like, there's like no money left here. But I guess Marvel, it's important to save Marvel. Marvel is an engine that has so many other films, TV shows, animation, theme parks, merchandise. I think that perhaps they're looking at that. Maybe Kevin Feige feels, hey, I'm not going to make any money off of these two Avengers movies, but I'll save the brand. And you know what? That might be worth it when you think about it. Maybe that's what they're telling themselves. But, I mean, the intense pressure on these guys to deliver, I think, is just insane. I mean, they really better deliver. All right, now let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. Oh, he was difficult before. You know, by the way, I want to tell you that when I heard this news, I have a friend who loves Robert Downey Jr. She loves Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man so much that I actually bought her a pair of she's not a comic book fan, but I bought her a pair of Iron Man sunglasses because she loves him so much. And she looks great in them. But I called her after my live stream on Saturday night. And I called her late at night. And I was like, I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to tell you the news. Robert Downey Jr. is back as Doom. And my friend was furious about it. She even said, I wish he'd get a new pair of stupid sunglasses instead of wearing the same ones all the time. And I was like, if my friend has turned, a normie, I'm very concerned about the overall reaction, And I think there's just something to be said when you're buying a ticket to go and see a movie, when you see how much money somebody's making off of it, that's a tough hill to get over. I think the likability factor is important. You want people to feel like you're creating this for them. Fans should feel like Robert Downey Jr. is returning for fans. But I think that's the problem. I think that it feels like Robert Downey Jr. is returning for himself to save his career and to get a boatload of cash. And that is where I think we run into an issue. All right, so let's talk about what he's getting. Now, it was reported that to date, he has made anywhere from $500 to $600 million off of the Marvel movies. That's incredible. Now, I will say that with his current run, as the run is, Iron Man through Avengers Endgame, I actually believe that he has earned that. I remember there was a story when he said to Kevin Feige, "Can I have the Avengers A?" The giant Avengers A on set that was supposed to be on the outside of the building. And Kevin Feige actually gave it to him. He had it delivered to Robert Downey Jr.'s home. And that's incredible. But that's fine. The movies did so well. Avengers Endgame, I thought, was an incredible film. And I really liked Iron Man's journey. I mean, a lot of you have a very short memory. I remember having to really, really defend Tony Stark when Civil War came out. And so many of you were like, Tony's horrible, Team Captain America. But now everybody, you all love Tony again. You're like, what are you talking about? We always loved Tony. So I think that's hilarious. All right, so anyway, Variety reported that he will be making significantly more than $80 million for the two films. So he could even be making $80 million a piece. That could be like $160 just for him total, which is like really a lot of money. Sure, they didn't say whether or not he has back-end participation, but I can't imagine that he doesn't have back-end participation. It seems that they gave him whatever the hell he wanted to come back. I mean, he was the one who insisted on the Russo brothers. So, and I'm sure that's why they love him so much. They're like, thank you for getting us $80 million, Robert Downey Jr. Oh, you want a poll, Vera? That's a good question. We'll do a poll. All right. Do you think RDJ and the Russos are worth this much? Yes. Only RDJ. Only the Russos. I don't know. No, there's no way you're going to say only the Russos are worth it. So I'm not sure. And then we'll go, heck no. All right, there you go. And again, anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. All right, so I'm sure that he has some kind of back-end participation. But then he has some perks that I think are really crazy. Well, not that crazy. The first two are not crazy at all. So you can see that he gets private jet travel for all of his travel, for all of his Marvel work. And that's pretty standard for the biggest stars. The studio will hire a private jet and fly you anywhere you need to go. Home, back to set, any publicity situations, it's just them by themselves. So that's standard for a star of that magnitude. Then he has a dedicated security team. Definitely. He definitely needs the security team. I would write that into his contract as well if I were Robert Downey Jr., and I'm sure other stars do as well. Some stars have it written into their contracts that they get a trainer, a personal chef. All these expenses are usually covered because they need it to do their work. The trailer encampment, though, I think that's a step too far. I know that he's going to have quite the entourage, but I would not create Robert Downey Jr. Village in the middle of the set. I mean, I'm sure, honestly, his trailer would be more impressive than everybody else's trailer. He'd have one that was really tricked out, but I feel like he would want to seem like he was just one of the guys. That's right, Ben 10, because imagine how it's going to feel for the other cast members, who are all very big stars as well. Garnet Fire, a trailer encampment, while not defined, probably means that you're going to have like a collection of trailers that are all together that create this little corner of the set that's Robert Downey Jr. land. Because he needs his trailer for himself. He needs probably a workout trailer. He probably needs a trailer for his team. And then maybe his security. And maybe some, as I said, a workout space. And so, those things are all understandable. But, Junior says he's also an Oscar winner. And he is, to be fair, okay? But at the same time, he's like, it's almost as if he's saying, and I also need a little table for my Oscar to sit on so everybody can look at it. I mean, Mika says, why is he working out? He's got to look pretty good. I mean, he's got to look okay. I mean, I think he should look good, right? But yeah, I wouldn't want everyone on set to hate me. That would be a big concern I would have. I mean, he's already walking away with hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, you don't need the trailer village. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what these guys are coming off of, because they ain't coming off of Endgame. Bubbles says millions for movies, but it's incredibly hard for our teachers or elder care personnel to make ends meet. I mean, I agree. I mean, I am a capitalist, and I feel, you know, if these movies are making that kind of money, the people who make them make that kind of money deserve to participate. But that's, again, why I like back-end participation. Also, that's a good point, Bubbles. Now that this headline is out there, and it's well known that Robert Downey Jr. has already made $500 to $600 million, I think that he might want to consider donating something to charity. You know? Or personally flying out fans to the set and paying for their entire trip and making sure it's in style. I mean, I think he needs to do something to alleviate what feels like a little bit much. You know, even if you do feel, you know, I think he's very valuable, obviously, but it just seems like a lot. That's right, Paul Brunel. Let's make a wish this thing. But, you know, do even more than that. That's not enough. Okay? All right, so anyway, Trisha, I'm sure Bob Iger had to approve this. You know, it's Disney's money. Kevin Feige's not paying him himself. All right, so let's look at what Robert Downey Jr. is coming off of. So these are his movies and TV shows. They're pretty bad. Doolittle, well, he made a documentary about his father, which is very nice. And then, of course, Oppenheimer, where he did win an Oscar. That's fair. He is an Oscar winner. However, a lot of people were making jokes that the Academy was probably sort of annoyed that he took an Oscar, he quit Marvel just long enough to win an Oscar, and as soon as he did, he went right back. You know, particularly because I think the industry is trying to move away from these movies because, you know, Tim Blake Nelson just said that these movies keep the industry alive, and they do to a degree. But I think there's so many of them that they're kind of choking the rest of the business. And so I have a friend who, another friend in the industry, when I told them about this news and was discussing it with them, even though they loved Deadpool and Wolverine, they said, I wish they would stop making these comic book movies. That's honestly what my friend in the industry said. They were very frustrated, which I thought was interesting. They weren't like, heck yeah, keep the money rolling into the business. But they were like, I think it was just tough for them, you know? So anyway, so he's done those 3 films. And then with TV, he's produced Perry Mason, which was wonderful, by the way. I loved Perry Mason, but nobody watched it. Sweet Tooth he produced, which was very good, but I only watched the first 2 seasons. And then also The Sympathizer, which I didn't even bother to watch because nobody was talking about it, and that was just a total disaster. And he even starred in that, or co-starred in it. But yeah, you know, I would think I would get some sort of a discount considering these are the projects that he came off of. All right, then the Russo brothers is even crazier, man. So the Russo brothers, this is what they've been doing post-Endgame. So the categories are director. The first one is director. Second category is writing. Third category is producing. So from things they've actually directed, they direct, all the Extraction movies are the best thing on here by far. And then, of course, there's Everything Everywhere All at Once, but they didn't even get an Oscar themselves for that. They had somebody else, only 3 producers can be nominated, and so other producers were nominated instead of them. But they are credited with the film. But I don't really think they were driving it creatively. Anyway, the films that they did direct, we haven't seen The Electric State just yet, but they directed Cherry and The Gray Man, 2 of the worst movies I've ever seen. Cherry, as Lloyd Lester said, was horrible. It was unwatchable. Gray Man was at least watchable, but it was truly awful. So, again, I'm like, where's my discount? Where's my Cherry Gray Man discount? I would think this would at least save me $10 million. But it did not. It did not. All right, so what's this? Oh yeah, this is what else I wanted to talk about. So as I said at the beginning, there's a little bit of an issue here. I think that it shows, it's a departure. I was talking to yet another friend of mine in the industry, and we were discussing this. And my friend in the industry said this is very different from where Marvel has been for phase 4, where they have really focused on affordable talent, right? Like names that are not big, and the idea was that Marvel would make them big. And they didn't make any of them big. Maybe Florence Pugh. Pew, 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 pew. Florence Pugh is like maybe the only one that they did. She's probably like, what the hell? Where's my money for Thunderbolts? I hope she got paid a lot. But, none of those stars really became, none of those phase 4 characters became really huge. But is that really entirely their fault? The original lineup of the Avengers, not Black Widow, not Hulk and Hawkeye, but the Trinity, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man all got 3 movies. They all got a trilogy to build them out. And that was really, I think, vital to making fans connect with them. But, Marvel for phase 4 was moving on to the next character as quickly as they possibly could. Like, Simu Liu did get a lot of work after Shang-Chi, but where's Shang-Chi? That was a great movie and a great character. Where is that? Tom Holland, that's right, Ben 10. Tom Holland is still very good, and I'm sure he's getting paid probably pretty similar for the 4th Spider-Man movie. I wouldn't be surprised if he's getting something to this degree. I mean, as it is, Tom Hollander said that he got, by accident, Tom Holland's check for one of the Avengers movies because their names are so similar, and they accidentally sent it to him, and he said it was a bigger amount of money than he'd ever seen in his entire life. And so I think that's pretty interesting, and that's just residuals off of the Avengers movies. That's not even the salary up front. But Marvel has been trying to save money in terms of cast. And even with casting Fantastic Four, which was just like less than a year ago, they couldn't get, so that's where I have my graphic. They couldn't get Emma Stone. They couldn't get Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie probably turned it down for other reasons because, she's Barbie. I think she wants to probably now focus on getting an Oscar. But Emma Stone would have done it if they'd given her $20 million, and then they wouldn't do it. I think Adam Driver also had a similar situation. I think Adam Driver also probably wanted to be paid more, and they said no. So, they got there's the Fantastic Four. I mean, that's a very affordable cast. Right? Like, that's very affordable. But yet now I'm sure also those actors are like, what? What? Why am I getting so little money? By the way, I'd like to point out that they asked Matt Shakman, there's Adam Shankman and Matt Shakman. Matt Shakman, who directed WandaVision and is directing Fantastic Four, they said, is Robert Downey Jr. going to show up in the Fantastic Four movie? And he said, no comment. So I'm like, they're going to annoy fans so much. I hope he doesn't. All right, let me do a poll on that. I'm surprised. Marvel used to seem to have such a pulse on the fandom. And I think that Ryan Reynolds having such a strong pulse on the fandom helped Deadpool and Wolverine. But I don't know what's going on with this. All right, so the results of this poll is, do you think Robert Downey Jr. and the Russos are worth this much? 46% of you said, heck no. 26% of you said, I'm not sure. 20% of you think yes. And then 6% of you feel only RDJ. So that means only 26% of you, about a quarter, feel that this is worth it. All right, so let me do a poll on this. How would you feel if RDJ Doom showed up in the FF movie? It would be amazing. I would throw up. And then I have to see it. And I guess we could do, I don't care. I don't care anymore. All right. Anyone can, again, vote in a poll. You just have to click on it and you can cast a vote. All right, so yeah. And so then again, as I pointed out to you, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Hemsworth, I'm sure they're also going to be like, where's my money? So it's very interesting. All right, so if you guys have any questions or comments about this story, and we'll let the poll run for a little bit, and then we'll go on to the next story of the day. Yes, he says, I think in a post-credit scene. Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense. Thank you, Lawson. Tenerife says, isn't Pedro expensive? He's expensive. I think he certainly got a bump. I think he probably got around $10 million for this. But it's more than he's ever been paid. However, he's not as expensive as Adam Driver probably wanted. I think Adam Driver and maybe even Jake Gyllenhaal would want 15 to 20. So Pedro is less expensive than the other leading men they were considering. Zoli says, hey, Grace, off work and dog sitting for some family today. Finally got to catch a midday live stream. Hooray! Hey, excited to be here. Oh, it's great to have you here. Mysteriorian says, what do you think the budget will be? I think that with these kinds of numbers, you're probably looking at like close to what you're like the 300 million, 350 numbers that we're seeing, but those were because of the strikes. And those size budgets have killed a number of movies because it's just these movies, these Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars would have to make close to 2 billion to make these salaries worth it. However, I think if they were the fighting-centric films, they would. I think that now they seem to be going for the more story-centric Secret Wars stories. I'm not so sure. Wiki Nomad says it cost $160 million to prune Kang. Probably more. That's funny, though. That's how much it cost, that Jonathan Majors debacle. I mean, it cost Jonathan Majors obviously much more, but it cost Marvel considerable amount of money. Hey, John, welcome back. Ricardo says, where's Elizabeth Olsen? Well, I've heard many rumors, as of other scoopers, that she is coming, but it's taking way too long. Adrian says, it's got to be more than Gladiator, right? That's interesting. Gladiator, of course, is infamously expensive as well, although I'll be curious to see how it performs. You know, I think some people were very upset about the trailer, but I think the movie looks fabulous. So it could end up being worth it. Oliver says, I'm over RDJ. Him not having the backs of the multiple actresses in the MCU, but then running to Chris Pratt's defense over a meme will never sit right to me. Oh, that's an interesting point. That's very true. That's very true. I mean, I don't want to besmirch him being supportive of Chris Pratt. I think the problem is the disparity. Adam Sphere, I'd love to see Moon Knight again. I really liked Oscar Isaac in that role, and I felt that they left it on a really good cliffhanger. Let's see here. Who just wrote that? That was very interesting. Leon says both movies cost $1 billion. That would be fascinating if these two Avengers movies cost $1 billion. If they both make, even if they both made just around $1 billion, they'd only break even. But if they both made close to $2 billion, that would be like not including the advertising campaign, that would be like an $800 million, $700 million profit. That's not bad. And then you also saving the brand. So, you know, that math makes sense. If these movies are good, this math makes sense. But that's a big if these days for Marvel. Billy says, I think they'll blend the two Secret Wars somehow. I hope so. That would be, I think, ideal. I wouldn't lean too heavily into the Hickman stuff. I've been trying to read it, and it's not fun. Let's see. Stephen Turner says these big salaries are kind of crazy considering how underpaid and overworked VFX artists are. That's an excellent point. You know, I think that's something really to be concerned about. What are VFX artists going to get paid? Are they even going to get paid what they should be paid, much less a bonus? I think this certainly would eat up. You know, I have to say, that's a great point, Stephen. Keanu Reeves famously and so graciously gave a chunk of his pay to everybody who worked on The Matrix. He shared his earnings with everybody who worked on that film. And I think it would go a long way if Robert Downey Jr. going into opening weekend, it's too early now, everybody will forget, but if he gave a little bit of his salary to everybody who worked on the film, I think that would be a really nice thing to do. And I think it would help him substantially in terms of his image. I mean, he's already got $500 to $600 million. He can give a bonus. Starboy says, Keanu did it, and Keanu is beloved. Starboy says, I'm mad we won't see Doom's origin properly. The character won't recover from this confusion. General audiences will forever associate Doom with Iron Man. Amen. That's exactly what's going to happen. And I think it shows, as I said in my live reaction on Saturday night, I think it shows that Kevin Feige has lost all his confidence in introducing new characters. And he would rather do a Tony Stark variant than a proper Doom. And I can understand where he's coming from, you know? I mean, I don't know how many more misses he can have. I mean, I hope Captain America, I hope Deadpool and Wolverine is the start of a great new chapter for Marvel. And I think, I haven't seen Thunderbolts footage yet, but I love what I've seen for Captain America so far. I hope those movies deliver. Jason says, it's a little silly to me to compare RDJ with any of these other people. RDJ left, Marvel tanked. Hold on, I lost it. DDC is no Russo brothers in the Marvel. What's DDC? What do you mean by DDC? But Jason, Robert Downey Jr. left and also tanked. So I think that these groups need each other as much. I think they need each other equally. I think it's not fair to say that Marvel needs Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers more than they need them. Let's see here. Alex Legate says, with Kang gone and no Emmy nom for Tom Hiddleston, he's gotten to be coming back for Secret Wars. Right? I don't know. I mean, can they afford him? And I don't know. If he didn't come back for Deadpool and Wolverine, they could have easily shot a little something when they were shooting Loki too. I think there's a big question mark there. Hey, Adelia. Xavier says, do you think that their cast members' screen time will be affected by this? It could. I mean, that's the other thing. They might be upset about what they're getting paid, but are they going to not show up for this Avengers movie and what it will do for their careers and keep them in the public eye and all the publicity they'll get off of it? Probably not. But I think it's going to suck. Kevin says, hey, yay, I'm a Diamond member. Oh, yay. And the same month I just got engaged. Oh, wow. Also, bringing back RDJ and the Russos make it look to me that Marvel has no confidence. I think that is very true. And then Andrew says, hey, Grace, do you think that any actress in the MCU would ever be treated this way? Like, why couldn't Elizabeth Olsen be allowed to make more movies? I don't know what's going on with Wanda. Although, of course, Scarlett Johansson fought to be paid, and she was paid. So good for her. Hey, Glubby. Welcome back. All right, let me close this poll. All right, let's see here. Hold on. All right. Well, how would you feel if Robert Downey Jr. showed up in the Fantastic Four movie as Doom? 36% of you would have to see it. 29% of you don't care anymore. 21% of you think it would be amazing. And 12% of you think you would throw up. But only 21%, not even a quarter, are excited about that idea. So, I mean, again, I think I would be in the camp if I have to see it. And again, I'm not a big Doom fan, so I don't care. But I am just... I don't know. I feel like this is going backwards instead of forwards. I thought we were going to lean into the MCU, to X-Men and stuff like that. So I'm just, I don't know. If it's a good story, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But I don't know how much the casual fan will enjoy it. I got to tell you, there's a very big part of me that feels we're heading into DC territory. Like when I was hearing Marvel fans defend this on Saturday and since then, it sounds a lot like what we've been hearing from, towards the end of the Snyderverse, what we would hear from DC fans. And I think that's not great. That's what scares me. I mean, this sounds like that's the space that we're entering. And I never thought that Marvel would be in that area. Trisha says, I think in society today with everybody having trouble, it's out of touch and it's going to annoy a lot of fans. Yeah, people are really hurting financially. But I don't know how many people... many people in the general public will know how much, I don't know if this headline will go beyond fans. Hey, Juju. Raphael says, what I really don't understand is why Marvel takes so much risk while trying to take no risk. The Marvel we fell in love with brought us new actors and compelling story, and now they try to push risky story using big names. That's very interesting, Raphael. They're paying all this money for Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers, and yet they're taking a huge risk with what the changes they're making to the Doom character. So that's fascinating. And then Odelia says, what does this new RDJ role as Doom mean for Black Panther 3? Well, let's see how Shuri and everything focus into the story. But, Black Panther did show up, but it was T'Challa in Secret Wars, but not in a huge way. Kind of. I haven't really gone over the whole story again. I do recall him and Reed doing some stuff together. But, obviously, it would have to be a T'Challa variant. So let's see what they decide to do. But can they introduce Robert Downey Jr. as Doom and then a new actor as T'Challa? At least they do have 2 movies to do it. I think we're ready for the next story. Okay, let's go to the next story because I think we're going to end up spending a whole hour on this. Although I'm glad that you guys have so much interest in it, but we do have some other things to discuss. All right. Oh, congrats on your 1-year badge, Lizzie. All right, hold on. Let's do it. Yeah, that's right, Leon. F4 boop. Here it comes. Boop. All right, there's the Fantasticar. This flew through the sky at San Diego Comic-Con inside. And some people I saw wondered online how they had done it because there were no wires. And somebody had a very good guess, and that was that it was done using like some kind of very light outer shell, and that there were drones inside of it. And I thought that was very clever. I was like, what a great use of drones. But yes, this is the Fantasticar. As I joked online, as Danny just brought up, it looks like a two-seater to me. I don't think you can fit 4 people in there. But you know, we'll see how the car works. Now, the footage, they did do a little, let me bring up the Fantastic Four so you can see them here. They did a little reel. They haven't actually officially gone into production until today, but for Comic-Con, they shot a little cute reel of like 1960s fun. You know, about the Fantastic Four. They didn't show off any of their powers, although they did show off a silhouette of the Thing. And so they had a really, cute little thing there. And so I thought, people have been posting footage and stills from it, but they keep getting taken down. So I don't want to go over it. But I did think that it was cute. I thought it was nice. I liked it. Now, to me, what it seems like they're doing here is a combination of The Incredibles and WandaVision, which, I have to say, if somebody pitched me, I want to do WandaVision meets The Incredibles, I'd be like, tell me more. Now, obviously, WandaVision had intense female and LGBT appeal. And so maybe, perhaps, people will be interested in the romance between Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby's characters to the same degree. But at the same time, you're like, why don't you just make a Wanda movie? Like, why again? Wanda was such a game changer, and she just, I think, really brought women and the LGBT community into the superhero space in a really exciting and new way. And yet they've completely abandoned Wanda as a result. But that's right, Joey. Pedro Pascal and I think Vanessa Kirby as well both do play into that group and are very much favored by that group. I love them. I'm a woman, right? And so I think that could work. Atom's Sphere, Wanda was not LGBT. The show wasn't LGBT itself. Although, of course, it's moving in that direction with Agatha all along, but it did appeal, Wanda appealed very much to the LGBT community. Hey, Tony Stank, thanks for gifting a membership. So, I think that it's important that they had play into it in that way. All right, so I'm excited about Wiccan. They had a new photo of him today that came out. All right, so let's see here. So they're doing like a 1960s space feel. And one thing that I can show is they handed out like some kind of a map, okay, that was really cool. All right? And there it is. Isn't that exciting? I mean, that to me looks great. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. So this is New York City. This is Manhattan. And on this map, you can see the Baxter Building, which almost I think is set up to be like the UN. So there it is. They have this great platform that leads out onto the water where they have their launch pad. And I'm like, that is pretty nice. That's right, Danny. It's a retro futuristic New York. So I think, seeing this is very exciting to me, but it reminds me of some other things that have come out. Now, of course, obviously there was the Venture Brothers. The Venture Brothers in their last season, they created in Columbus Circle, they built the Venture Building where there's actually currently like a museum of art. So I think that was very clever. The Venture Brothers obviously builds very much on the Fantastic Four. And then also the Incredibles, they had the office and also their home and everything like that. That's very Incredibles. And then as some of you are pointing out, like Cosmics and Atom's Sphere, it's also very Tomorrowland. There's Space Mountain in particular. Tomorrowland recently has had a little bit of a Jules Verne take on it. But when it was first launched, it looked very much like this. So there is a way to build in with the theme parks automatically. They could maybe even do, now that I just think about it, they could do a lot of overlays on Space Mountain, particularly in Disneyland and the other, really outside of Orlando. They do overlays on on Space Mountain. So they could do a Fantastic Four overlay, very much so on Tomorrowland, and get into the parks almost immediately. I hope they're working on that. 80s model. Are the Fantastic Four rich? I wouldn't say so much they're rich as they have substantial grants from the government, I think. But also, I believe, contracts because of the things that they provide, the services and the research that they do. They're like a democratic Elon Musk to some degree, right? If Elon Musk did his own research. Elon Musk is largely a business person in the face of. He didn't develop Tesla technology or SpaceX technology. But, it's very much in that same vein. So that's interesting. So I think this looks really great. I think it looks awesome. I am a little bit concerned about the appeal to broad audiences because, as I told you, 1960s content doesn't tend to do very well. Mad Men didn't do particularly well. Fly Me to the Moon, which just came out, didn't do very well. That Renee Zellweger, Ewan McGregor, 1960s style comedy, as you might recall, that was directed by Peyton Reed, who did the Ant-Man movies. And Peyton Reed really wanted to do Fantastic Four for that very reason. But that movie was really tanked. So, yeah. So, Dredd says, any diversity in this movie? Well, you do have Pedro Pascal, obviously. And I think, for the most part, that's the diversity that they have as of right now. But, of course, we haven't seen the final film. But, yeah, so I think it's pretty good. So I hope it does well. I'm a little nervous about the broad appeal, but I feel I'm going to like it. Mika says, Tomorrowland flopped too. The movie. Yeah, the movie did not do well, but that was an awful movie. Kyle says, Pedro and Vanessa's chemistry doing press at San Diego Comic-Con was insane. They were a very good couple. They seem to have a lot of chemistry already. Do you guys have any comments or questions about this story before we move on to the final story of the day? Danny says, will it be an origin story? Well, from what I've heard, the title is First Steps. They are in their own universe. They are in their own separate universe, which Galactus is coming after. So I believe that I heard that this was going to be an origin story of sorts. It's not going to be a full-on origin story. I think it's going to be very much a montage where you kind of get an idea of how the Fantastic Four came to be. And you see almost their entire, all their villains, I think are going to show up here and there. But I think the main story is going to be them having to leave this universe and save themselves and hopefully some other people, which is actually from Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, kind of creating an arc to get out of there. Maybe Doom hitches a ride on their ship and was like, I'm coming with you. Leo says, I hope it's longer than just 2 hours. I hope they have enough time to do this. Let's see here. Cosmic says, Mole Man? Well, Paul Walter Hauser has been cast, and I think we all kind of feel he's almost definitely playing Mole Man. I haven't heard that, but I mean, how could he not? Sockley says, don't they have to introduce Doom in Fantastic Four? They don't have to. I mean, he's been introduced in the previous 2 Fantastic Four movies, and it did not go over very well. Although I thought that big that big sequence, thank you, Aralysis, in the second Fantastic Four was the coolest sequence in the movie when Doom kind of came back, changed. I thought that was cool. But yeah, let's see what they decide to do. But I don't know if Doom necessarily needs to, particularly when you're dealing with variants. But, where did he come from? What universe is that Doom from? Is he from this one or is he from a different one? Sebastian scribbles, oh, hey, Sebastian, you always send me fun stuff on Twitter. I'm ready for a Fantastic Four attraction at Disneyland, Tomorrowland. I think it obviously would fit right in. Devin Henderson says, what are the F4's big villains outside of Doom? They're not big. Galactus, obviously, is somebody. Reed often takes on villainous properties. Not only from ignoring his wife and sending her into the arms of Namor, but also, in some situations, he's been evil, as Leo pointed out in Multiverse of Madness. Mika says, does it shake your confidence that no one has been able to make a good Fantastic Four movie or an amazing comic yet? I do think Fantastic Four is a little bit of a hard sell, but I think The Incredibles were obviously ridiculously popular. So I think, why did that work? Why did that work and Fly Me to the Moon doesn't? I think it's the superhero element, and I think the great action sequences and also the family drama. Can they do a good family drama here? Can they get that heart? If I were Matt Shackman, I would be studying The Incredibles intently. Yeah, Billy, Fly Me to the Moon was a great movie. Let's see here. Chad says, or CJ says, the first Fantastic Four movie was pretty good. Thank you very much. It was okay. I mean, I thought it was only all right. I'm curious to see how they do the powers. I hope they're as inventive as they are in The Incredibles. All right. Who's my favorite Fantastic Four member, Adam Sphere? I really like Invisible Woman, and I'm very excited for Vanessa Kirby. I think it's a cool character, and I think there's some kind of commentary that can be done about her turning invisible as the only woman in the group. I don't know if some fans will like that, but I don't know how you can't address that. I think it's really interesting. Tari says Hickman's Fantastic Four run is phenomenal. I think it's okay. Was that with stuff with like Future Foundation and stuff like that? I mean, that was kind of interesting up to a point. And that's right, 80s models. Sue Storm's powers can be really impressive. You know, you can't see them so much. I wonder how they'll handle that. Maybe they'll have like light effect to it to a little degree. But I hope that they do something really cool with that. Trisha says, how could they build Fantastic Four in Disney if Universal has the rights? They don't have the rights anymore, Trisha. I mean, Universal has the rights in the Orlando area, so it's hard for them to do Marvel stuff. I don't know. I think Fantastic Four might fall under that purview, like Guardians of the Galaxy didn't. But they can do it in all their other parks. All right. Let's go on to the next story of the day. Hold on. And then we'll do the Q&A. All right. Story number 3. Boom, baby. Oscar hosts. Who shall host the Oscars? Apparently, nobody wants to do it. Jimmy Kimmel even passed, and he's hosted that thing way too many times. I'm glad that he passed. I think that Jimmy Kimmel is too corporate a choice. You know that he's only there because he does their late night show. Just like I get upset when the Grammys on CBS have all of their talent hosting and presenting. I'm like, what does that person have to do with music? Oh, they have a CBS show. So I think that's frustrating. You guys are very kind to suggest me. You guys are very nice. Thank you. But I was really shocked, as I tweeted yesterday, that John Mulaney said no, because everybody had been really pushing for him. And the fact that he got an offer is really exciting, like we did it, but then he said no? I mean, I hope that everything, because he, of course, had hosted the Governor's Award, which is kind of like the Oscar pre-ceremony, like a week or so earlier, and he did a phenomenal job. Everybody was very impressed with his opening monologue, and he also killed it when he did a presentation at the actual Oscars. I hope everything's okay with him personally. He's had a difficult time, not only his own recovery, getting clean, but then also Olivia Munn, of course, just went through a really difficult time, who, I don't know if they've been married, if they got married yet or not, but, I think he's had a lot going on. So he's doing some stand-up. He's still doing stand-up shows, but also everybody's in LA was his shot at doing his own late night talk show on Netflix, and it had been considered a front runner for the Emmys, not even just a contender, but a front runner, and it ended up being entirely snubbed. So I do wonder if maybe he's thinking he should regroup a little bit. But I think that it would be really good for him to be the host. I think it would really help his career. But he said no, thank you. Some of you feel it's a thankless job, but I think it's a pretty good gig. Now, interestingly, some of you, when we were talking about this last night, one of you tweeted back that it should be Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. And I thought that was a pretty darn good idea. Hugh Jackman, of course, already hosted the Oscars back in 2009. Ryan Reynolds, though, I'm not quite sure if Ryan Reynolds is interested in hosting. It's a very specific skill set, and Ryan Reynolds, I don't know, he's very good at marketing, as we've been discussing, but I don't know if it's something that he necessarily wants to do. It doesn't help the Deadpool and Wolverine movie at all in terms of timing. The Oscars are in March, and Deadpool and Wolverine will already have come out on digital and on Disney+, so I'm not really sure what would be the purpose of it, right? I mean, if maybe Deadpool and Wolverine has some nominations, I'm sure they'll present, but I don't know if they would want to host. Now let's take a look at previous Oscar hosts. All right, so here's a nice big graphic. Whee! All right, let me see if I can get it so it's not totally covering me up there. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so let me get my arrow. Where'd it go? Now, we also, of course, had the three women, Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes hosted. Although I have to say, well, Regina Hall is not an actual, she's very funny and she does comedic roles. Regina Hall, I don't believe, actually does stand-up. And I thought Regina Hall did the best out of these three when they hosted. So that's been one group. And then also James Franco and Anne Hathaway, of course, infamously hosted. That really, a lot has happened since then as well. But that, of course, is one of the infamous hosting situations. But let me get my arrow. Where'd it go? There it is. All right, let's talk about these Oscar hosts. All right, there we go. All right, so Chris Rock, he'll forever, maybe Chris Rock would want to come back. Although, of course, he and Will Smith's interaction has been very difficult. And called a lot of attention. Ellen DeGeneres was a wonderful host. But then, of course, she's had her own scandals recently. But when Ellen DeGeneres was at her height, the height of her fame, she was, the picture that she took at the Oscars, I think for a while, was the most liked picture on social media of all time. Then, of course, let's see here. Is that Jon Stewart? I think it is. Yep. Jon Stewart, nobody remembers that he even hosted, really. Whoopi Goldberg, obviously iconic, but to me, the best hosts have always been Bob Hope and Billy Crystal. They did a wonderful job, both of them. I mean, Bob Hope I've never actually seen host the Oscars, but I'm a big Bob Hope fan. I think he's great. And for many, many years, he was the only host. Same for Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal is an amazing Oscar host. I really think he did a wonderful job. I would see if maybe he'd want to come back. Alec Baldwin, who's also been canceled. Hollywood's a rough business. Steve Martin, they co-hosted. I thought that was only moderate. Neil Patrick Harris, always a fun time with Neil Patrick Harris, but I think he's more, I don't really think he's a big movie person. So, I think I would see Neil Patrick Harris more hosting the Emmys, who they're also looking for a host for, by the way, and that's coming up fast in September. But also Neil Patrick Harris, of course, hosted the Tonys and did an incredible job. And then Seth MacFarlane hosted one year, and I thought Seth MacFarlane actually did a pretty good job. I thought that some of his jokes were pretty funny, but it just did not work out. I don't think it was particularly well regarded. All right, so I see some of you having some other suggestions that I think are excellent. I think that Bowen Yang would be wonderful. I'm a big Bowen Yang fan. I think he's very funny. And I think he's not only funny, but his comedy is almost art in some of the choices that he makes. I really am a big fan of his work. Like from the iceberg from Titanic to that wonderful Chuck E. Cheese sketch that he did with Benedict Cumberbatch. So I think Bowen Yang would be a lot of fun. But I don't know if he's yet a big enough star to get the gig. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, that's a pretty good idea. Key and Peele, Adam Sphere. I'd take them in a heartbeat. I don't know. I think that Keegan-Michael Key would do it. Jordan Peele? I don't know if Jordan Peele would want to do it. I think he's working on his next film. I think he's trying very much to be taken very seriously. But, they were producing some new comedy sketches for a while. I really like Key and Peele. That, to me, is a great suggestion because they've been away for a little bit. And so I think that people would be excited for them to come back. And I think their jokes are very smart. Let's see here. Gene Smart, Catherine Hahn, I think these would not help the ratings, as much as I love them. Chris Hemsworth, Leo, also, again, Chris Hemsworth, very funny, but I don't think that Chris Hemsworth would need it. And I think there's too much of a downside, potentially, for him. Leon says artificial intelligence. Maybe if they can't get anybody, that's what they'll go on. They'll be like, you don't want us to hire AI, but yet none of you would take the gig. Let's see here. Garnet Fire says, who would appeal to everyone? It's tough. It's very hard to appeal to everybody these days. But I feel there's someone out there. That's why these people get paid the big bucks to produce these shows. Go find the talent. That's right, Danny. Maybe John Cena would appeal to everybody. That's very possible. Alexander Padilla. I love Eugenio Derbez. I don't think he's a big enough star in the United States, which is a shame. But I do love me some Eugenio Derbez. I hope he maybe gets a chance to present. You guys are very sweet. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we get to the Q&A? Tyler, they can't afford Robert Downey Jr. His asking price is too high. Popcorn Roulette says, what about 2021 when there was no host? I'd be okay with that. I actually thought that show turned out fantastic. I don't think you necessarily need a host, to be honest with you. Although I do like Bo and Yang quite a bit. That Suggestion to me and Key and Peele, those to me are great choices. Callaghan, I appreciate you guys, and Mika, Ayo Debris is very talented, but I don't think she's interested in hosting. So I think that's why it doesn't totally work for her. Raphael says, what about Kumail Nanjiani? He's very funny. I'm curious to see if that Booster Gold rumor is true. Dancing Dog 60 says, are the Fantastic Four in the universe? Okay, let's move on to the Q&A because you guys are tired of the story. All right. All right, hold on. It's Q&A time for 10 minutes. It's 4:42. So until 4:52, you may ask me whatever that you would like. And I will maybe answer it. Stardust says, hey Grace, do you do most of your videos in one take? Oh, that's a great question, Stardust. For the most part, I actually do. Occasionally, I'll hide a cut in an edit. I sometimes have to stop for sound issues. That's the biggest reason sometimes that I have to stop for sound. And then sometimes I'll do a glitch or, a blooper, and I have to just start again from a little bit earlier in the script. Chris says, huge Gaga and comic book fan here. Do you think Joker 2 will make $1 billion? I'm nervous, Chris Vornis. I would have thought normally that it would, but the last trailer underperformed. It did do very well on its own, but nobody really wanted to talk about it. It was surprising. I was surprised at that reaction. I can't tell you what I've heard about Thunderbolts, Linda. I'll get in trouble. Marvel pays attention. Let's see here. Marjorie says, hey Grace, are there any movies that have come out so far that are being big award contenders? Well, Marjorie, I'm going to do a video about that in August. But I think, right now I think obviously Dune is a big awards contender already. Inside Out 2. I think there are a couple so far, a handful. Hey Raphael, I don't save the footage. And also I wouldn't be that interesting. It would be just me mispronouncing something or getting tripped up on my words. Juan says the problem is that Joker 2 is a musical. There are a couple of big, bold swings that Joker 2 is doing that could torpedo that film. I'm nervous about it. I hope it does well. Yes, he says, when should we expect a teaser for Thunderbolts, man? Maybe at D23. The big panel for D23 is a week from Friday. And they're having everything for movies and TV. Everything is on the same night. It's going to be nuts. So pencil that into your calendar. I have it written down here. D23 on Friday, August 9th at 7 p.m. Pacific. So that's 10 p.m. at night. They're killing me on this. Where'd it go? Where did I write this down? Oh. Yeah, 10 p.m. at night. They have the Entertainment Showcase, which will be Marvel, Star Wars, Disney animation, Disney live action, everything, okay? It's a 2-hour panel. Then on Saturday, there is a Marvel animation panel at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then in the evening is when they have the theme parks, again at 10 p.m. And I'll cover anything that happens on Saturday on Sunday morning before Movie Math. But I'll be covering, on Friday, I'll be staying up and covering that big major mega panel, which is going to be nuts. Let's see here. Mandalorian A says, do you think we'll get a big DC casting soon for James Gunn's universe? Well, you'd think they'd cast Batman pretty soon. But I don't know. I think that if they were smart, they'd wait and see how Superman does. But let's see. Adam Spheres, do you think House of the Dragon had enough happen this season? Well, I can't say until we see this season finale. But I will say that the pacing has been poor, and that while some people really like it, I think that it has lost some fans for the show. Dancing Dog 60 says, thoughts on Daphne Keene as Zatanna in the new DC Gunverse. She's got the look. I'm still not totally sold on her acting ability, but I do think Daphne Keene is very nice. I think it was a little frustrating that one of the reasons that they put Daphne Keene, it seems, in the last final trailer was that because she wanted to go to the premiere. And that's very, very juvenile to me, that she would put her own interests ahead of the fan experience. Danny Dunphy says, hi, Grace. The BTT fam supports you. Thank you. If you could act, write, or be in any MCU character, who would it be? Who knows? I'd like to be a reporter. I'll be like a reporter on the MCU news, and I'll interview the superheroes. Cosmics, that's right. These panels for D23 are going to be in the Honda Civic Center in an actual stadium, or like stadium. I mean, that's incredible. They're going to fill that room. They're going to have stuff that's going to make people go crazy. Lord Baratheon says, how have Captain America or Thunderbolts done in test screenings? I haven't heard anything about it, although obviously Captain America had to undergo significant reshoots because they became not sure of the film. Let's see. Nofik says, how do you think Marvel should recover from the RDJ stuff, especially when Kevin said the Mutant Saga was starting? I don't know. I mean, I think it seems like maybe that was just a total misdirect. I'm nervous about it. Ramsey says, should we expect any major announcements from D23 or tame down expectations for new projects? I'm not sure. I think I agree. I saw somebody point out that Charlie Cox is going to D23. You'll probably see stuff for Daredevil. The question is, what of it will be released to the public? I'm sure they have some stuff. I'm sure they've come to play. But I'm very interested in seeing stuff for the other things. Like, will we see some more stuff for Snow White, maybe? I'd love to get a first look at Gal Gadot as the evil queen. I'm interested in those things, very much so. 80s Model, I will cover Umbrella Academy Season 4. I'm under strict embargo until the show drops, but I've actually watched all of the episodes already. I Am Jacob says that Kevin Feige said the Mutant Saga would begin once the Multiverse Saga is over. And it seems that the Multiverse Saga shall never end. Like, what is that going to be, like 2030? That's ridiculous. Leroy says, how do you decide what inside information to share with people? Oh, that's easy. It's a combination of what won't get me in trouble and what won't ruin the experience for you of the actual product. Let's see. Dread says, I want to see some Lilo and Stitch stuff. Oh, that would be great. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great if we got our first look at live action Stitch? That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for here. Man, I'm going to be working all day, probably Saturday too. Oh, we got 3 minutes left on the Q&A. Danny, my next review I think will be Batman Cape Crusader later today, but as for a movie review, I think it's going to be Borderlands. Although I'm not going to make the review embargo because they have only one press screening in New York and it's too hard for me to get to. It's very far for me. So I will see it on Thursday night and review it on Friday. Ben Svarog, I think it's still too early for a Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler question, I'm afraid. Oliver says, how much of Deadpool's cameos and story did you know before you saw it? I knew everything. I didn't know the context of the reveals, but I knew every single cameo. But I didn't want to ruin it for you guys. And Disney would kill me. Let's see here. Michael Macenas, I don't think Borderlands looks that bad. I kind of like Cate Blanchett in that role. I think that's cool. Chris, how is my day today? Oh, it's better now that I talk to you guys. I love seeing you guys. That's very sweet of you to ask, though. I'm getting a little hot, though, with this sun. You know? Oh, my pleasure, Lisa. I don't want to ruin the movie for you guys. I told you I think the spoilers have gotten a little out of control. My rule is usually, would it be in the trailers? Then I feel it's fair. And I try to secretly warn you, like when I put that poll of being like, how would you feel if there weren't a lot of cameos in the movie? Some of you understood what I was doing. Wanda's attorney says, thoughts on Thunderbolts making very little noise at San Diego Comic-Con. I think it's because I think it's because they didn't really release anything to the public, and nothing really made noise. Robert Downey Jr. blew everything out of the water, and that's why I wish they had held it till D23. I Heart Movies, I've never watched What We Do in the Shadows, unfortunately. It's just something that I never got into. Sophia says, when are they going to announce Spider-Man 4? I would think maybe at Comic-Con. I mean, at D23, but I think it's a little early for it. Dancing Dog 60, I'm not going to review Trap because I'm doing something on Thursday night, and that's when I would have to see the movie to review it. And I have friends who want to go on Friday, and I don't want to see the movie 2 days back in a row back to back. So if Warner Brothers doesn't want to do a press screening, I'm just fresh out of luck. I'm going to do other things, though. I have plenty of fun videos coming out for August. Have to pivot because there are so few movies, but we're still going to have plenty to talk about. Don't worry about it. Ricardo, I'm not sure when the animated Spider-Man show is coming out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a little something on Saturday. Not this Saturday, but the week after at the Marvel Animation panel. I hope they do. Give it to me. I think I'm going to be working harder on D23 than I was on Comic-Con. I suspect that I probably will work all weekend for D23, whereas I did not. I only worked one evening for Comic-Con. Deadpoo says, hi, how are you? Say hi to your parents. How was your Deadpool and Wolverine experience screening? Oh, it was incredible. And it was just as much fun seeing it the second time around. I went to see it again with my parents, and my mom laughed so hard at Gambit. I've only seen her laugh, and I thought that was great. I wish I could tell Channing Tatum. My mom laughed so hard at Gambit. I have only seen her laugh that hard one other time in my entire life. And that made me very happy because he was one of my favorite cameos as well. She doesn't even watch, she's not even familiar with the character. She just thought his Cajun accent was so funny. Benji, what X-Men comics do I recommend? I recommend checking out they're just relaunching. So I would try and check out those new titles as they come out. I think only one has come out so far, and it wasn't bad. Sebastian Scribbles, I'm not sure when I'm seeing Alien. The press, I did ask today about it, and they said the press invites are going out later this week. So I'm excited. I came up with a fun idea. I had so much fun covering Deadpool and Wolverine like we used to do that I came up with a fun idea for a second spoiler video for Alien Romulus, and I was very proud of myself. So I'm excited to do that. AG68, D23 is next weekend, August 9th, 10th, and 11th. Oh, I'm a little over. Let me do shout outs. Where are you? What are you doing? What's up? Let me say hi. Ricardo, Saga. Saga is finally back with another issue tomorrow, and I'm excited to read it. I still read a lot of Archie because Archie's not work. Whenever I read a DC or a Marvel comic, it's like work. So I can truly decompress. When is the next $1 Million Listing on? Is it on tonight? I love that show. Thanks, little baby pizza. Lewis is in Puerto Rico having a pina colada and some lobster empanadas. My God, Lewis, you're living like a king on the beach. Leroy is packing for a vacation in Boston. Boston has incredible food. You're going to have a good time. Danny has a day off in Guatemala. Always so nice to see you, Danny. Mr. Jojo says, hey, watching you from Dubai. It's 1 a.m. here, eating burgers outside. I love it. We painted such a great picture. George Harrison is in England, naturally. Had a job interview earlier for a position in London that you really want. Oh, George, break a leg. We're rooting for you. Let's see here. Andrew says, at work, waiting for the clock to strike 5:30. It's close. It's close, Andrew. Lucas Blanco is in Orlando working on a Westeros map puzzle. Oh, that's great. I wish I could do more puzzles. I need more of a workspace for my puzzles. Some people have like a puzzle table in their home, and I'm very envious of them. Let's see here. Oh, look, Haunted Autumn says, good luck to George. They're on the job hunt themselves. Good for you. We're rooting for all of you. I Heart Movies is watching What We Do in the Shadows in Ohio. No wonder you asked about it. Michael says, sweating to death in Chicago. Never go for a pre-stream run at 92 degrees. Michael, be careful. Take care of yourself. Ben, I thought you said you were choking salmon in Hungary. I was like, what? But I'm glad you're just cooking salmon. I had salmon last night. I went, I got a delicious, I didn't make it myself, but I picked up some salmon, really good salmon, and also some homemade kind of style macaroni and cheese. And it was such a good dinner. And I watched The Killers, the 1940s film, and I had a really nice evening. Let's see here. Oh, Atmosphere, I'm so sorry to hear you were in a car wreck. I'm glad you're okay for the most part. Thank you, Garnet Fire. That's very sweet of you. Mexican 8 Nacho says, watching from the 22nd floor at the office in Mexico City. I love it. High story vibes there, Mexican Nacho. Let's see here. Pearl Plum Sparkle says, waiting for your Caped Crusader review. Can't wait to see this version of Harley Quinn. Or can you? My review will go up soon. It'll go up tonight. Andrew, I'm glad you like that movie as well. Oh, Lisa, you also had salmon and macaroni and cheese last night? We're dinner buddies. I love it. How crazy that we had the same thing. It was a great combo. I will do that again. Let's see here. Ricardo says, getting excited for the Fringe Festival. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's right, in Edinburgh. Oh, Brian and Ricardo, it's always so nice to see you both living your best lives. And then Dolan says, getting hyped for my trip to California. Oh, and you're going to D23. Who's going to D23? I know that Jico's going to D23, and now I know that you're going, Dolan. Please send me photos when you're there. David Hughes is working from home, eating air-popped popcorn. Oh, that is a very healthy snack. Good for you. Oh, Lisa, you made your own? Good for you. I should try and make it myself. Electrobolt says, hi, Grace. I'm on the couch embroidering and listening. Oh, that's so cool. What are you embroidering? Is it a pillowcase? Is it a handkerchief? When I was little, I tried my hand at embroidering. Oh, Dolan, you're going to go to the Warner Brothers and Universal Studio tours? You're going to have a great time. I'm glad you're making the most out of your LA trip. Stephen is working in LA, theater rehearsal tonight. I love it, Stephen, living the dream. Oh, Cosmics, you'll be at D23 too? That's fantastic. I'd love to hear about that. Oh, Michael knows that you're going to be there. Linda, you should try to go to D23 at one point, especially if you're a Disney fan. It's hard for me to cover these things. It's easier for me to cover them from right here. But like from a fan perspective, D23 is a great event. Oh, that's right, Reggie. I saw that. All the strikes have been resolved. Thank goodness. Atmosphere, I'm glad that we cheered you up today. I'm sorry you were feeling down, but I'm glad that you're not anymore. All right, I better get going so I can get this Batman Caped Crusader review up. I had a fabulous time talking to you, as always. I'll see you tomorrow. The live streams this week will be tomorrow and also Thursday.